You can see the curve in the PEX because it's on a big roll. You got to straighten it out and bend it to fit your application you need. You can bend it quite easily, however, because it's so easy to bend, you want to do a gradual bend in it. If you get too aggressive with it, you'll end up kinking it and you'll have to throw it away. So if I take this right now and I put a kink in it, right there, see? Now that's kinked. There, you can try straightening it out, but now you got a kind of a fracture going through there, and you can't trust this to ever seal again. Or, I mean, you can't ever trust this not to leak on you. In fact, I can see a little pinhole right in that corner. So, we can't use that. Gotta cut it off. Just like that. So be careful when you're bending it, and just work it a little bit at a time. You can also buy a pipe bender for these. I believe it kind of looks like a spring, a coiled spring. Put it on there, and it allows you to put a bend into it without worrying about kinking it. Now me, I'm just using my hands and abusing my thumbs, but as you can see, as we work it, I'm getting more and more of the angle I want, and that it can connect. And then the rest of this up here, I got to cut it and splice into it, so I can tee off and go down and feed the supply to the tub. But there you go. It's just that easy. You get a nice bend. Just like that. I got just a regular copper crush ring for it. Now you can use the kind that have the spacer in it. That way it ensures that you don't get a leak by spacing it correctly. However, if I give it an 1/8 inch space from the end, if I crimp it there, I'll know I'll be on those center rings of that pipe. Now if I can hold this ring and pull it out, you can, maybe it'll show how it lines up. Here it goes. So if you can see that, that is lined up with these center rings. So that's why you need to give it that 1/8 inch gap at the end. You don't want it butted up tight. If you butt it up here, you're going to have a leak. If you have it too far to the end, you're going to have a leak. Just pull it 1/8 inch away from there and have it centered like that, and you'll be just good. Here's some of the PEX fittings I'll be using. You've got your T-fitting, and then the brass plug. They make plastic plugs, but for long term, I would stick with the brass, meaning this is going to be stuck in your wall and left for the life of your plumbing. Use the brass. They make the plastic. The plastic I do have, I'm going to use that at the ends where the actual shut-off valves will be going. I will plug the PEX so the system is tight, watertight, hopefully, because that's what I'm going to test it. And once I've tested it and made sure that it is watertight, then I'll cut off and remove that plastic plug, and then sit in my shut-off valve. So here's this. Another thing we have is a couple different styles of clamps. at you. You have these different styles. This is a regular copper ring, nothing fancy. And you got this one, which has that little black piece attached to it. And what that is a spacer. And that helps space it out as well. It helps to hold it on. So now it's attached. You can slide in or slide on your PEX line and then crimp it. This is nice in tight areas where you can't easily accessibly get to it. Then you're not, fighting around trying to get this properly centered on there for it to seal. As you can see, these rings around there, the ridges, that helps to seal it once the ring is clamped. If the ring is too far one way or the other, it doesn't properly seal on those, and then you can possibly have a leak. So by having this ring attached to it, eliminates that. However, if you take your time and get it positioned right and keep that 1/8 inch away from the edge, you should be good and not have any issues. These ones are more expensive. So maybe you get a pack of these if you have a couple spots where you need this in a tight area, and then for the rest of your stuff, use the regular copper ring and you should be good. Yeah. Oh, and we got what's good to have, and this came with my PEX crimper that I bought. So we got here the go no-go gauge. After you're done crimping on your PEX rings, you want to ensure that they are in fact crimped enough and not too much. So you got a go and no-go. This should fit on and around your ring that you just compressed. If it fits inside of the no-go, that means it's been compressed too much, and that is in danger of leaking on you. And then if it doesn't fit within inside the go gauge, it means it's not compressed enough, and once again you have a problem with leaking. So if you just go by this, you're all good. Okay, we got that 1/8 inch gap there. Hopefully the camera will get all this. I got my crimpers here. Let's come up, see if I can get on here. Now you can see where I want to check the back side, make sure we haven't really moved it all. They look to be good. But that spacer, that compression ring that has the built-in spacer, you can see where it comes in handy. Ensuring that we do in fact have, and I can still kind of see a space there, so I think we're good. And we want to be completely on that ring. We don't want to be half on it. I want to compress it, just like that. It looks good. I believe we are good. I'm going to go ahead, go on it one more time. Just going to hit it at a slightly different angle. Okay. Really probably wasn't necessary, but I just want to make sure we got no grooves, or I should say any, if the jaws are offset you get a ridge going. And I can feel a little something, but it's very minute. I believe we're good. Next thing is the go, no-go gauge. And if I put the go on there, we are good. It has been compressed enough. And then the no-go won't quite fit. So it's compressed enough, not over compressed, and not under compressed. So we should be good and sealed and tight. Now for the rest of this. Now if you have a problem with this, if you screwed up or put it on incorrectly or just something weird happened, you can remove these. They do have a tool that'll cut these off, or if you have a Dremel with a cutoff wheel, you can go ahead, cut it into this, and just put a slice right through the side of it, open it up, take it off, and then you are good to replace it. You might want to cut back on your PEX a little bit so you have a nice fresh clean piece going on. So you've probably noticed me double clamping my PEX rings. The reason is I got a cheap pair of PEX pliers for clamping, and the jaws are slightly offset. So you get it, or you get these ridges when it clamps down on the ring, and then that transfers into the PEX pipe below, which you don't want because you could have a leak. Plus, instead of being nice and round, it's kind of offset. Right, so I got to come in at a different angle to bring that back round so it's nice and centric on that PEX pipe, so we got a nice even clamping force or pressure on that brass fitting below, so it seals. So that's why I double clamp it. The only problem with that is then you risk the possibility of over clamping it and causing a leak, but that is why I always use my gauge. Then I know if I've clamped it enough or too much. And so far I haven't had any issues, but I will continue doing that because I want to make sure I have no leaks. So we got that one on. Stick that in. Showing that 1/8 inch space. Should be good. As you can really see the benefit to that built-in spacer. I'm feeling with the top side of my finger. Make sure that ring is centered in the pliers. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to clamp it down. And it should be good. See, it looks good. Once again, I'm just making sure, going on a different angle. Don't want to overdo it, but I want to make sure that we're good. And we're good. There's the gauge, won't go there. It does fit in that one. So that's that done. That comes up. And then I'll have this piece tee into it. And we're just that much closer to having the bathroom plumbed. So I got the roll of PEX here, starting to fish it through that one hole. Try to do this with one hand in the camera. I start fishing it down through. Should see it start popping out. There we go. It's way over here. There we go. Alright. You see that? We can fish it through and keep heading it down that way to join up with that tee. There's that line. I can join it up with this. Tee it on, and then that goes down and feeds that. As you can see, they're joined up, just rough fitted. Gotta clamp them now. Okay, I got some more the PEX pipe come through there. Got the one hot line for the tub. We got to do the cold line still. As you can see, obviously you get quite the curl going on the PEX because it comes out of a roll, so it does take a little bit of effort to work that pipe nice and straight, but that's what you have to do. So next we gotta throw in the cold, and then I gotta figure out and plumb for the toilet tank. Okay, I'm just making an expansion pipe. So you got your 1/2" brass plug in the top, and the 1/2" T. That'll sit back here, facing out. So then the supply out, right, comes through the wall. This is your expansion pipe, and you need these. Now you can buy them or you can make your own. The other ones are a copper pipe that are a larger diameter and not as long, and that's basically to help out with any water knocking that you might hear in older homes or houses that weren't properly plumbed. Maybe the code didn't require it, or somebody didn't know what they're doing cutting corners. You got an expansion pipe, so when the water gets shut off, all that pressure has to go somewhere, and if there's nowhere for it to go, that's where you hear that knocking or hammering in the wall or throughout your house. Especially if you don't have pipes that are actually secured, you'll hear them banging and rattling in the wall as well. But by having an expansion pipe there, this is basically an air chamber, acts like a giant shock. When the water gets shut off, the water then climbs up a little bit up this pipe, compressing the air, dampening that sudden pressure surge and stopping the banging that you would hear. Add security to the plumbing because it while it softens it, you can over time, I don't know, you might damage maybe an older or maybe not a properly soldered joint somewhere throughout the plumbing of your house. The excess pressure could eventually find its way pushing through and causing a leak. So that's what this is. Cut down on the pressure and have it for each one, hot, cold. Gonna have it for the tub, and then for the toilet, we're getting there. I got to cut those to the length they need to be. Got this one cut. This one is just sat in there, so I got to attach this piece, right, and then that'll be the pressure relief for that. We got this part done. We got the feed to the sink, and then that's the tee off to the toilet, and then the expansion pipe up top with this brass plug. Everything is crimped and tested with the go no-go gauge, so I shouldn't have any issues with leaking. However, that we will find out when I actually get to testing everything, and hopefully with any luck, cross fingers, knock on wood, we should be good, but we'll see. So you're going to be doing PEX yourself. Another piece of equipment you're going to need to pick up are some cutters for it. These are quite inexpensive, and they work quite well, as you can see. Get that. Do a nice clean cut, and they are Lorena Bobbitt approved. Okay, I got the PEX plumbed. It's just sitting loose in there for now. I don't have it tied down. I have these clips. They just snap on and you just nail it into place. I'll do that after. For now, I'm going to actually turn the water on. I'm going to set a bucket under here, bucket here, and then a bucket for this one. I'm just going to bleed the air out of the lines, because then I got to cap the lines, and I'm going to pressure check it and make sure that we have no leaks. I've checked every crimp with my go no-go gauge, so we should be 100% good. Yeah, it's looking alright. These I just got pinned in here just to hold them up for now, because they were flopping down. That is not going to be the final location, but it is looking pretty good. These are the plugs I'll be using. They're a plastic plug. So let me get the camera set up for you guys so you can see this next little bit with me bleeding the air to the lines. Hopefully I don't have any issues with any water rocketing out and getting all this nice unfinished drywall soaking wet. Here you guys go. Highly sketchy setup, but hopefully we won't have a big mess on our hands. Probably will. You guys will be the first to see. Well, I don't know if that camera's picking up my voice, but if it is, we're going to slowly start with the cold water and see what happens. Easing on the pressure. I hear a bucket getting filled with water. now. Open it up a little bit more. Okay. I don't know what I expected, but I think I'm going to have to open up the valve more. What I have is that bucket with water in it and the other buckets with nothing. Here goes the cold again. Hot. So we're finally getting some water in this other bucket. Most of it's going here. I still haven't got anything up here yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cap these lines off and then start forcing the water to come out up here. And then once that's done, then I'll cap them all off and then we'll pressure it up and see what we got. Okay, well, finally capped those two off. This one got water coming out of here and hot. Now I'm going to cap this off. Here are these plugs. See these funny little ears on it. Actually act as a spacer to space your compression ring away from the end. That nice 1/8 inch that you need. Bucket's close at hand here. Just set it kind of underneath. Don't think we'll have any issues. I'm going to slowly turn on the water and pressure up the system. So far so good. I don't hear anything. Everything's pressured up. I didn't see any leaks downstairs, but we're going to recheck those and we're going to leave this pressured up for several hours to see if we get like even the littlest bit of a drop that shows up. So far, so good. I went around and felt all the connections by hand and looked at it, and I don't see anything dripping or sweating from it so far. We're going to leave this pressured up for a while, and we'll see how it goes. But everything's looking good so far. Even these plastic plugs are sealing just fine, and that's with one crimp of the pliers. I did not double crimp those rings. So if that makes a difference or not, I don't know, but they're not leaking. So far, so good. So far, so good. Let's go downstairs and I'll show you downstairs fittings and what we can see or not see. Okay. That's the hot. That's the cold. Those joints, those connections. We got those there. I don't see any leaks. Maybe see that one crimp ring and spacer. That PEX line's a little lower on that than I would like, but it was in such a tight spot. That's kind of how it turned out. I'm actually not such a fan of those crimp rings with the spacers. So far, so good. Anybody want to leave in a comment what movie that's from? Well, here we go. Several hours later. We got any leaks? Nothing. We seem to be good and dry. We don't have any issues. I must have done it right because it's working out. I don't see any water. I don't feel any water. So I think we're all good. But I'm going to go ahead now and I'll probably leave it overnight. Check in the morning and see if it's the same. But I'm pretty confident we got it. So far, so good. Thanks for watching.